Oh, we got the lights back up, I just realized. Okay, so, first of all, thank you all so much for coming to this screening. I've been wanting to come down to G-Fest for a while, because we're coming all the way up from, Toronto, Canada, and, you know, that's where most of the movie was shot. So, basically, I'll just give a quick little insight before we get to questions. This movie, I started in September 2010 and finished in December 2016. We spent about 3 years filming it, and then another year just doing all the special effects and everything. We had the premiere in December 2016. It's laid dormant on YouTube for a while, but the issue is that my composer, Bernard Kier, could not finish the track on time for the premiere, so we had to put a temp track on, and it screwed up the audio on YouTube. So if you go listen to it on YouTube, it sounds terrible. But this new version is going to be premiering after G-Fest on my YouTube channel. Now, I'm just going to throw a show of hands. Who here knows who I am? Wow, that is a lot of people. Okay. So for those who don't know, my name is Jack Buchanan. I'm the director of this movie, and I've also run a YouTube channel titled BigJackFilms, where I do crazy little homemade special effects short films. I do movie reviews. I'm known as the King Kong guy because I've done reviews of, like, all the Kong-related stuff that's out there, 55 episodes worth. So, yeah, so I wrote the script in September. We filmed it throughout 2011 to 2013, and then we spent 2 years doing the effects, and then I spent another year doing the sound mix. So, now that I've pretty much given a backstory, okay, anybody got any questions? Any at all? Yes?
What was the hardest thing to do Kong-wise?
Do you mean, like, in terms of effects or character?
In terms of, like, whenever Kong's on screen, like, the fight with the T-Rex or the Empire State Building, like, what was the hardest to do for him?
There were a couple... the production did have a lot of difficulties getting off the ground. I had, well, I'll give you an example, the T-Rex fight. That was my buddy Bradley, who was in the 90% of the Kong suit, and God bless him, it was, like, hot as hell out in the summer out in there, so he was a real sport about it. But then we had another person in the T-Rex outfit, and a lot of that was just setting up cameras in different spots, and just a lot of it was actually improvised, so we had to improvise on the set, and a lot of it was just them pushing, shoving, and there were a couple times where the actors actually did get hurt. I know Bradley at one point was on his knees laying down, and the T-Rex was supposed to launch down on him, but the actor landed on Bradley's knees, and he was okay, but, like, a lot of that, there was a lot of nuts and bolts and a lot of bruises on the making of the film. I think other difficult things with Kong-wise was mostly in terms of some of the shots were kind of difficult to put together. Like, when he crushes the wall, we had to get that all in one take. Luckily, we had enough to do a second take, but, like, we used the first take, essentially. And yeah, just a lot of it was just trial and error, trying to figure out how we're gonna, accomplish getting shots done, and sometimes if it was too difficult, we'd have to completely scrap it and rewrite something to fit what would work as an effect. We had, an example, we had a deleted scene where Kong goes through a river getting to Skull Mountain, and he gets attacked by a Kronosaur. And I had no way of doing the Kronosaurus effect, and I pretty much scrapped that entire scene, which, by the way, the original first edit of this film was 4.5 hours. I had to cut it down, literally cut it in half. A lot of the DVDs you can also find on my YouTube channel, and there's going to be a making of documentary about the film as well, so it's kind of have the game together. Anybody else got questions? Yes?
Did you actually have Doug Walker and James Rolfe to aid you?
Yeah, for those who might not know, it's what I call an audio cameo. We have audio cameos from James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, as well as the nostalgia critic Doug Walker and those guys, and they came in and they did some audio stuff for us because I've gotten to know them a few times at conventions. They've come up to where I am. And yeah, I just asked them. I asked James especially, and he said, yeah, sure. So he's the announcer who announces Carl Denham on stage. So for any of you angry video game nerd fans, he's on there. So yeah. But yeah, I think the other thing is, like, trying to tell the story about the same, but also give it a different spin on the whole thing. Like, I wanted to essentially make it take place in present day. So, like, what would happen if Skull Island was discovered now? And I wrote it around 2010, and I know we were right in the middle of a recession, so that's why if there's some scenes that look like they were taken from the 30s, it was because the recession was happening, so I was trying to make it look like jobs and budgeting was cut tight and everything around that time. But a lot of the elements, the dinosaur scenes and so on, were actually taken from a canceled production that Universal was going to do in the 70s and 90s, and they had 2 drafts made. One was written by Lorenzo Simple Jr., who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and the other was through Peter Jackson, because he was going to do it in the 90s. But it got canned because of Roland Emmerich's Godzilla and Disney's Mighty Joe Young. And if you read that first draft, it's pretty much an Indiana Jones movie, just a classy 1930s adventure film. But I loved reading all the different segments that were in there, so I tried to incorporate a lot of that into it as well. So it just kind of, I like the concept of people who take canceled ideas and bring them to actual movies now. So that's why a lot of it is kind of unique in its own sense. And I noticed this when we had the first premiere. And you guys did the same thing. When Denham died, the applause, because you could just tell everybody you all hated him. I could see you all are just like, you're just looking at him like, what a dick. So we basically, I wanted to give him a good death, and originally he was supposed to get eaten. But I thought, no, that's too cliche. I was thinking he would get stomped. No, that's too cliche. No, let's go the Disney route. Let's have him fall to his death. Like a classic Disney villain would. So we did that.
The way Kong was shaking around, you'd expect him to die from whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. We also had it where, again, like Anne falls with him. You don't see that in any other version. And it's like, when we had the first premiere, I could hear the gasps in the audience, and I'm like, oh my god, I did it. I actually made it work. So that's, a lot of that happened in that sense. Questions. I'm open to anything. Just ask it, fire away. Yes.
Were there any technical difficulties when filming the movie?
A lot. If you imagine 6 years, you could probably guess, yeah, there are a lot of production problems. It was mostly trying to get the actors to come in on weekends and just film through a span of 3 years, and it was mostly during the summer, because if it was winter, we'd have to shoot in the garage on a green screen. That was our only time to do that. So that's why even some of the green screens are a little dodgy to look at, but that's because we shot them indoors with terrible lighting. But it wasn't till halfway through I discovered, wait, if I just use the green screen outside, it'll actually look a lot better. The biggest difficulty was finding an actress. To sound terrible, it was a bitch to find. But basically what happened was my original actress, she wanted to do it, but then she got a full-time job, so she couldn't do it, and I was literally stuck for 2 years of the production shooting without an actress. And it was kind of like Spielberg and Jaws, where it's like, just shoot everything but the shark. Just save everything till the last minute. So we literally looked everywhere. I tried so many people. Even my sister wanted to do it because she felt so bad, but I was like, no, don't feel right, honestly. So out of desperation, I put an ad on what's a website called Kijiji, which is basically the Canadian Craigslist without the really bad stuff. So I put out an ad. I got a couple of responses, but they wanted money, which we couldn't because this was a lot of volunteer hours, a lot of volunteer stuff. But I got in contact with one person named Sylvana Boonstra, who plays the role, and this is so weird because I love when life imitates art. When I went to do an interview with her, we were at a coffee shop. Now, if you guys have seen the original film, Denham suggests to Anne, why don't you come be a part of my picture in a coffee shop? So I thought, this is so surreal to have life imitate art in that sense. So it felt just like in the film when they just, meet each other in that sense. So she did the work, and God bless her, she had like 3 kids to raise on the top of that, so she was a real sport about it. So that's how that came about. Yes.
Would you ever think about doing a movie like this again? And because you said it took like 6 years, how long do you think it would take for another movie like this?
One of the biggest questions I get about this film is, what's your next project, or are you going to do a sequel? The answer is no. I think just the fact that it took this long is enough to say no sequel, and I think a lot of the actors would probably want it. They've moved on to other stuff. But a lot of people...
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what I'm getting at is, would you like to branch out into other monsters?
Not necessarily monsters, but there's one franchise from Japan that I actually want to take a crack at, which is, are you guys aware of the anime series Inuyasha? Yeah. Alright. Well, I'm planning to do a continuation fan film series that, takes place after, because most people are like, oh, you're gonna remake it, it's gonna be terrible, it's gonna be like Dragon Ball Evolution. It's like, No, it's going to continue. I'm going to actually expand the world. Like, I think that's what film should do now. Instead of just rebooting and remaking everything, do a proper sequel to something. So that's going to be next for me, and we're giving it a very Lord of the Rings-esque feel to it. That's kind of what I have next on my agenda. Aside from that, I just do movie reviews and stuff like that on YouTube, and that's essentially my job. So, all right, any other questions? Yes?
What is the name of your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel, if you guys want to write it down, because I'm out of cards, you write down your phones. It's titled BigJackFilms. It's all one word, so it's BigJackFilms. We focus on mostly, again, fan films and stuff, but we mostly focus on our movie reviews and game reviews and so on. We've had cameos from tons of people. The Angry Video Game Nerd. We've had we did a Back to the Future video where we actually got the car in the video at some point, so you can check it out there. I know it's heavy, Marty. Oh my God, is that a word they use in 1985? But yeah, but I am mostly known as the King Kong guy because I've just done over 55 episodes just talking about nothing but Kong. So from like the movies, the sequels, the shows, the rides, the merchandise, I will cover pretty much any of that. So that's kind of what I have in mind. Yes?
Which Kong film was the best?
Well, it's funny, when I first got here, I'm like, I'm Team Kong, and I was thinking, there's so many Godzilla fans here, I'm like, I am on enemy territory right now. It's really a tie between the original and, oddly enough, 76, but 76, actually, I like a lot more. And okay, show of hands, who has seen the 1976 remake? Okay, any of you who have not seen it, go rent it or something. You can find it in the dealer's room on DVD with the original. But it's a well-produced remake. It was really ahead of its time. Amazing effects by Rick Baker, Jessica Lange, Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, they're all in it. It's a wonderful film. So, personally, that's my favorite film of all time, and it's the reason I got into making movies in the first place. So, I really have to thank the original and 76 for getting me to become a filmmaker. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Yes?
Oh, well, this is just real quick. Have you seen the sequel to the 76 version?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So, if you guys have any questions afterwards, just feel free to come see me and ask me. We are also screening the movie tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the same time. So, that's about it.
If you need to, you got 15 more minutes.
Oh, actually, you know what? We got 15 more minutes. I was like, see, normally when the staff come in, it means you gotta go. Is normally how it is. But yeah, so, and to give you my thoughts on the Peter Jackson remake, I like it. But I literally mean this. It's not as good as the first draft. Because, again, they were going for an Indiana Jones film and everything. And actually, if you guys have seen the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies, it was said that they took that Kong script and they just removed anything with gorillas and dinosaurs and replaced it in Mummy and put it in Egypt, is essentially what they did. So, all right, fire away questions about the film. Let's go for it. Anybody got any questions at all? Or even criticisms? I'm open to criticism of whatever. Yes?
I felt like your Carl Denham reminded me too much of James Cagney.
I feel like I should know who James Cagney is, and if I don't know who he is, I apologize. No, we based Denham on, mostly what they were, because originally in 1996 when they were going to do the film, Jackson had considered either Gary Oldman or Robert De Niro as Carl Denham, so we were going for full-on Robert De Niro. Like Casino Robert De Niro, where he's like, I want him dead! I want his family dead! We were going for that style of a villain, and it was solely based on that remake. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
BigJackFilms, I love you.
Thank you! Love you too!
Thank you.
We had, we based him on that. We wanted to make him a villain, and one of the things, I just love how in the 96 script, they made him a scumbag. Like, even when they get back to the ship and Anne's captured by the natives, Denham sees that happen, and then he reports to the crew like, oh no, Anne's been captured, I've been attacked, It's like, did Denham just walk off the set of Whale Wars or something? It's like, I've been shot, you're a liar! So, yeah, we based it a lot on him just being the villain of the piece, and oddly enough, people have said that is the best character in the entire film just because of how much of a slimeball he is in terms of villain-wise. So if I can write good villains, I think like I've done pretty well. So yeah. All right, yeah, and don't worry, feel free, raise questions. Yes.
Yeah. as seeing the original of your cut, what was the most difficult to add onto the remastered version?
This is interesting because we have it on YouTube, and what happened is that we were supposed to have an original score by Bernard Keir, whose resume includes Prime Survival, which is a Jurassic Park fan film. He did the score for that, and he contacted me to do it. He wanted to do it. I'm like, okay, cool. Unfortunately, he's a very busy man. He actually works at Universal Studios Florida, so he's working nonstop. And he unfortunately couldn't make the deadline, so we had to release it without him. And we used a temp track from the score of Waterworld, which is my favorite film score of all time. If you guys have not seen Waterworld, go see Waterworld. But we essentially used that, but the copyright on it had completely screwed up the audio. And if you go listen to it on a mobile app, it sounds like somebody's piercing your ears with a syringe or something. It's terrible. So I was not happy with the final results, and it was a lot longer. Again, the original cut was 4.5, and I trimmed it down to 2.5. So doing this remaster, which you've seen here, I cut it down to 10 minutes. I cut 10 minutes out, and it was mostly just the fat, cutting the fat out. And I made some of the effects look a little better, the sound is a lot better, and the music is a lot better because Bernard had actually given me the entire score to work with. And it will be on YouTube after this event. Hopefully I can make a bit of the money back in terms of box office gross. Yes?
What'd you think of, like, Kong Skull Island?
I loved it. It was a fantastic movie. That was the one movie I was hyped for next year. Like, everybody's like, oh, the best hype movie was The Last Jedi. Like, no. I've been waiting for another Kong movie for 10 years. I'm not gonna pass that up. I loved it. And it's funny too, at the time we were making our movie, they were making that movie. And every time I announced something online, they would announce something online. So I get the feeling Warner Brothers was watching what I was doing very closely. Like, even if you watch this film and Kong Skull Island, even the costumes are about the same as the characters in Kong Skull Island. But we were doing it first, so I'm like, Warner Brothers, if you were taking my ideas, you owe me a check. So I was, but I overall loved the movie. I thought it was a fantastic film. I wish John Goodman wasn't killed off. I thought he was the best character in the whole movie, but, yeah, and if you're wondering about Godzilla vs. Kong, I am hyped, and I might get lynched for this, but I am on Team Kong right now, so don't kill me! Don't kill me. But that's essentially what I think of most of the films. Yes?
What did you think of the skull crawlers?
I like them. I was really hoping for more dinosaurs, but honestly, I thought they were a nice tribute, actually, to the original film of that lizard that attacks Jack in the little cave in the log scene. If you guys have seen the original, that can now be considered a skull crawler. So I think it's a nice add-on to the lore, essentially, and they were a great villain, essentially. Yes.
Well, I mean, at the after-credit scene of Kong Skull Island, they teased Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters. So, are you excited for Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Yeah, and in terms of
just for the fact for a teaser at the end of that.
And in terms of, you guys seen the recent info that's come out in the last few days of the photo that was just released of Godzilla?
Yes.
Okay, is it me, or is Godzilla pretty much turning into the Sky Portal in every other franchise? He's going like this, like, oh my god, he's a Sky Portal. He's the reason they keep happening.
You know, he's blowing up the Sky Portal.
Okay, if they did that, I would be so happy. It's like, enough with the Sky Portal. Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Essentially. So, alright. Yes. You had a question.
Which version of your movie did you like better, the original or your recut?
I like the recut a lot more. I'm a lot more happy with it. I think it's a little bit more faster paced than the original cut was. I think this was actually a good time to do it. And I love the fact that actually this is the premiere of the new version. This is like premiering the special edition. So you guys got to see it first. And again, I really appreciate all of you coming down for this. So yes, you in the back.
What do you think that Godzilla is doing in that picture, in that promotional photo?
He's probably, I don't know, sending a signal to other monsters, or he's just like, maybe he's just having a big yawn. He's just like, oh god, did I just blow up the moon? Yeah, I blew up the moon.
He's shining the time breath while he's doing it.
Yeah. Let's just keep the last few questions in terms of just the film itself, so if you guys have any questions or comments. Yes?
How do you stay inspired, and where in your hardest times, where'd your funding come from?
I'll answer the first question. A lot of my inspiration does come from movies. My parents, my dad over there, showed me a lot of films when I was a kid, a lot of great movies. The first time I saw King Kong, I was about 5, and I watched it on VHS back to back with the original and King Kong Lives. So I think that's probably why that movie is a little more biased about it, but I didn't think that much about it. And then the biggest inspiration for me was actually visiting Universal Studios Florida and just seeing how movies were made. I was more interested in that than Disney. And I became so fascinated, I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to make movies. So I just took my dad's little VHS camera and I just started making films with friends. Eventually I got the Lego Studios little movie maker set and made films on that. And some of my earliest videos were on YouTube of just these little Lego movies you can still find online. I think I've remade King Kong probably about 4 times. I did 3 of them in Lego and then this one. But a lot of it was just like, watching Peter Jackson's film and then going back and watching the original again and seeing what it took to make that. I'm like, I'm so fascinated, not necessarily with, I'm fascinated with the story and characters and the themes, but I'm more fascinated about the making of it. And that's what keeps me going, is just, if you want, I didn't have a film education. High school completely screwed me over, and essentially what happened is my education was DVDs. My education was the internet. YouTube was starting to become a thing to learn stuff. So a lot of it was self-taught for myself, and I just love making movies, and especially films that I want to see as well as what the audience wants to see. That's kind of my goal in life. So, all right, yes.
What did you think of Godzilla Monster Planet?
I haven't seen it yet. Yes.
How many people worked on this film?
A lot of people. My dad, producer, supported me the entire time, and I want to just give him an applause for that. So, really helped out with this production. A lot of the cast were friends from high school who just came in on weekends. Again, Anne was an ad-off Kijiji. I was so desperate for somebody. We had help from the Toronto Fire Department, who allowed us to shoot on their ship, on the boat. That's where we got all the venture stuff. It was, we had caterers. We had a friend of ours who was a caterer who came and fed us. We had, a lot of it was, because I was essentially a one-man crew. I did most of it. The storyboards, the script, the effects, building costumes, building puppets. It was all in my garage, just animating these dinosaurs. The hand, that hand only cost me like $200. And I made it out of foam, wood, and a gorilla hand costume that you can find relatively cheap. So a lot of it was just trial and error, learning as I went along, and self-teaching myself about stuff. Yes?
Do you think you're gonna make a sequel to the film?
No! I think I've pretty much gotten the story across. However, I am writing a novelization that does explain more of, the history of the island and just kind of who knows what, because the idea I have is that the government is actually covering up Skull Island, and any ship that goes in, they're forced to come back, and then they're, told by... It's kind of like the government in the Transformers films. They have all these top secret stuff underground, so it's like they know about Skull Island. And one of the things I'm writing in the backstory is that Denham hired somebody in the Pentagon to steal the map from the Pentagon so they could get the coordinates to the island. So even ships that go in, they never come back. So, yes.
What's next?
Next in terms for me?
Yeah.
Just making my reviews, working on my films. I've actually gotten into the film business now in Toronto, being a set designer and helping out with people on big projects. For me, I want to mostly focus on my show or my review on YouTube, but also expand on the characters and lore. And the concept I have for my reviews is do a review, but also make it a fan film. And that's what I like to do. I just like to make movies that everybody else wants to see, and even films I want to see. I found my niche in telling them through my reviews and stuff. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Do we have time, Jeff? Do we have time for one more question?
One more.
Okay, yes, in the back.
From the beginning of your concept to completion of the movie, how much time would you estimate you put into that?
I don't have an estimated time of how many work hours I put into it, but all I can say, it took 6 years to make with the help of a lot of loyal friends and brothers, and just everybody who was involved did a fantastic job. So I'm overall very grateful for what they did, and for my first feature, damn good job. So that's all the time we have today, guys. Thank you.